Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 Maricopa Open presented by Infinite Discs. We're back at the Copper Sky Disc Golf Course located in Maricopa, Arizona, and we've got a leader, Anthony Barela, shot a 12 under in the opening round. He'll be joined by Owen along with Andrew Marwede, and rounding out our card, the Goose, Aaron Gossage. Excited to bring you this front nine coverage of round number 2. Great looking leader card, and we'll see if the action picks up. During our first round, it felt like things moved just a little bit slow for our competitors. These guys have officially set the pace. You see that Barela's at 12, Bear's at 9, Marwede 8, and Gossage at 7. Let's see what they can do. And short, but still a look here for Barela on hole number 1. Hole 1 comes in at 362 feet. And there's OB directly behind the basket. I want to say it's within 15 feet. So clearly the mistake, if you're going to make one, is to come up short as opposed to going deep. And forehands seem to be the preferred route. And looks like all 4 of our competitors going with forehands. You see the pole on the left and the tree on the right. Those are mandos. So you do have to punch somewhere through these obstacles here, but there is a double mando. Owen's attempt from circle 2. Looks like it's going to be right next to the pin. That should be a tap in par. Now Barela almost pin high. Looks solid. Appears to be picking up where he left off from the day before. Round number 1, Barela got both holes 1 and 2. Barela also had an eagle on 12. And that's all what led him to a bogey-free 12 under in the opening round. Gossage, on the other hand, opened with 4 consecutive birdies on the course during our opening round. Off to a good start here. No, although Owen's right next to the basket looking for that tap-in 3, that's still going to be a 2-stroke improvement for him. He opened with a double bogey 5. I'm guessing an OB came into play yesterday. Marwede with no problem. Marwede also had a bogey-free effort in round number 1 that led him to the 8 under. Back from 15 through 18, though, he had stalled out. That's where he took all par. So he was really 8 under through the first 14. We head to 2. If somehow you missed the fireworks during round 1, you need to go back and watch hole 2 from round 1. Huge skip flare for Barela. That's going to put him out of bounds. He'll head to a drop zone. You know, I interchangeably feel like I use up skip flare and flare skip. I guess flare skip is probably the more common way to word it, huh? You guys get the point. Marwede inbounds. And I feel like this happens often, is a player will, even though they're playing their own game, they'll see what happens from another player, and sometimes they'll become a little more tentative or sometimes aggressive, but often more tentative when they just see a competitor do something. You have to wonder if that's at all, or maybe that's just Andrew's play, or maybe you just misfired. All of that's possible, but you got to assume when somebody sees something go on ahead of them, the person or 2 people in front of them, it probably creeps into their mind a little bit more than we realize. Barela from the drop zone. This is really treated as an island. Oh, no. So off the island. Now you go to an even shorter drop zone from there. And he pitches over. I'm not sure he even practiced from there. Probably not thinking he'd have a double OB on this hole. But as easy as it gets there for Gossage. And with that, that's going to be a triple bogey for Barela. So although he came into today with a 3-stroke lead, you're seeing just how much the scoring is switching up. And right now, tied for first with Owen Bear. I'm going to take the walk over to hole 3. That comes in at 403 feet. Similar to 1, OB is directly behind the basket. This shot is, we'll say, straighter and very straightforward entirely in how you throw it. It's just 400 feet straight out in front of you. However, there is OB that comes in, again, 15, 20 feet at most from directly behind the pin. I love the low skip play that we're seeing from Bear. Marwede opting for the backhand. And launches it into the out of bounds and not necessarily near the basket. That's the thing, is if you go out of bounds, of course, on this hole, hole 1, or a number of the holes out here, if you're doing it at just the right angle, you can actually be very close to the pin and have almost a tap in to make the recovery shot. But that one was off the mark, and AB comes up short. So Marwede will pick up his first bogey of the tournament. AB about circle's edge, looking at roughly 30, maybe 35 feet. Owen now with back-to-back birdies, and he's going to take the outright lead. And no problem for Gossage. So Gossage clearly has these first few holes dialed in. Yesterday at this point, 3 under. Today, 3 under. So 6 under in the first 3 holes over the 2 rounds. Marwede cleans up for bogey, which is going to bring him back to even par on the round, which will take us over to hole number 4. Just very straightforward. However, it does come close to the road, as you see some of the cars directly behind that we're just driving past. So that is going to be your out-of-bounds area. Oh, and you saw the big skip flare at the last second. That's out of bounds for Gossage. We'll have to see if he's anywhere near the basket. And this shot just involves trust. You're just putting it up in an area. We saw plenty of forehands yesterday. Backhands work here, obviously, just as well. It's really an equal opportunity shot here, whether you're going with the backhand or the forehand. They play almost perfectly identical to one another, just with, obviously, the opposite spin. Saw a little bounce up there from Barela. And now we're going to see a forehand shot here out of Marwede. Oh, and just clearing the tree. And what will be a little short, but he'll have an uphill putt. So you can tell by where Aaron had gone out of bounds, he had juiced this one. and doesn't make the comebacker, but completely juicing it. I mean, listed at 290, and he was at least 30 past. And so a conversation, I believe, as to the lie of Barela. And now you can see just how close that sidewalk does come into play. Sidewalk and beyond actually is the OB, not just the road, actually it's the sidewalk. The Barela in for birdie. Marwede trying to recover from the bogey on the previous hole. I think we call that a bounce back stat, and he's done just that. And Gossage will put a bogey on his scorecard. So although he had dominated the first 3 holes, both rounds, and he birdied this during round 1, today he's going to walk away with the bogey. And Owen has no problems picking up the birdie. And he's going to remain your leader as we cross the street and head over to hole number 5. Our first par 4 of the round, 618 feet. Owen just pitching it out there for position. You have a Mando in which you must navigate to the left side of the pole. That's going to be a little farther down the fairway here. AB going big, getting up and around it. Marwede just playing for position. There is a pathway that kind of cuts through the middle of this, almost as if it's we'll call it like a river, and it does play out of bounds. If you land inside of it where it's marked, that plays as an OB river. You see the pole there on the right side. That's what you must navigate to the left of. So all these players that threw the backhands are really just setting themselves up. Maybe a pair of 300-foot shots. Nice looking shot there by Marwede. He'll be just short looking up at the pin. Solid shot as well, coming in for Gossage. And AB has a long eagle stab at this. Of course, you see some of the obstruction, but the fact that he's even thinking about the idea of an eagle, or at least the very easy birdie drop in, looks to be his game plan. And Owen tickles a chain or two. The return of the chain tickler. So no problems for AB to pick up the easy birdie. That's back-to-back on 4 and 5. And really, AB's just back to even par on the round. You saw him open with the birdie. Then you got the last 2 on 4 and 5. That's all just to negate the triple bogey that he took back on hole 2. And we're going to move over to hole number 6. Just 305 feet. And it's going to be interesting to see, because this course has had so many different light iterations or varying iterations and designs over the last few years. It's going to be interesting to see what the next few years bring as this entire area continues to develop. I think back to a few years ago when that hotel that's off in the distance didn't even exist. During some of the coverage, we saw that it was just being built. So we saw various stages of that. And I think that's what we're going to see out here with this entire area and property. It will be interesting to look back in a few years to see what was here now versus what they have. And that looks like a bank shot off possibly I'm not sure if that's a trash receptacle or something on that left side. The players must navigate through these two trees. You see the two markings on them. You must go through the center of them. So it sets up really well for the forehand, and it looked like Gossage was to the left of the tree. So after missing the Mando, he's at the drop zone, likely looking at a bogey 4 there. AB finds the bush directly behind the basket. Now Marwede has a look for birdie. Man, that bush just sucking them right in. That's Owen for birdie. And again, the outright lead. Gossage with the Miss Mando stroke will tap in for the bogey. Big thanks to Arizona's own Distinguished Doodle. Make sure you reach out to them if you're looking for any of your pet care products. Use the code DiscGolfGuy. Get 20% off. Or in the description of this video, if you click on that link, that will bring you to their page with my information already queued up for you. So I believe that just presets the discounted code for you. Go check them out. Wow, an AB saved by the right side wall. That one was hanging out too high and right, but it needs a little checkup. Good thing that didn't go in, Marwede. We wouldn't have seen it. And this one can be dangerous because anything that doesn't land on the island goes to a drop zone, almost guaranteed to bring you a bogey. And that's in with no problem there for Aaron Gossage. Nice confident stroke out of Barela. This event playing in early February, in fact, Super Bowl weekend, if we're putting a real timestamp on it. So this is really Barela's second tournament that we're seeing him with Discraft Plastic. We saw him at the Shelly Sharp a few weeks earlier, and now this is his second tournament with his new sponsor in Discraft. Marwede, of course, who went to DGA last year in 2022, went on to still be one of the best putters on the planet. And Gossage, of course, has been with Discraft for a few years. And I'll be honest, I'm uncertain of Owen's current sponsorship. I know he's had a primary disc manufacturer at one point. He's also taken on some other life and career roles in the last few years and hasn't focused as much on disc golf. But awesome to see him out of Arizona here on the lead card as Gossage doesn't connect with his birdie attempt and leaves himself a little tester. And you got to assume some frustration sets in. The 3-putt here on 7 is going to give him back-to-back bogeys on both 6 and 7. And with that, he falls to 1 under for the round. Holes 8 and 9, I feel like, are very straightforward. Both plenty of distance. Hole 8 comes in at 712 feet. That canal way off on the right side is going to be out of bounds. As you see the pin located there, just perfectly straight in line, almost right at 12 o'clock from the tee. AB looking to take advantage of his distance, I'm sure. That'll do. 7 does come in as... Oh, we're not on 7 anymore. I was going to say 7 came in as the 6th easiest. Surprising to see. That's exactly why I went to the stats. I am baffled to see that hole 8 is playing as the 4th most difficult hole of the round. I was just thinking this has to be one of the easier ones, being a par 4. I would be wrong. Marwede's got plenty of space on the left side to take this out and around. Don't see it quite come back into view there. AB having to deal with some longer grass for the run-up. Doesn't seem to be a problem for him. Slow, methodical approach to it. That's going to come up short. And I guess as we're seeing, if you don't stay wide enough to the right, these are some of the challenges that can come into play. Some awkward footing, or having to deal with a bush or a tree or not much of a sight line. Those are all things that happen on the left side of this fairway. And so Marwede didn't fight back hard enough to the right, and now you're seeing him pitch over, not quite pin high, but the 65-footer is just a pitch up next to the pin. He's looking at a par. Owen for birdie, just off the rim, barely short. And Barela short on his second shot. This is, I'm sure, something that's got to be frustrating. He makes up for it with the birdie, but shouldn't feel like he should be coming up short on a second shot here on a 712-foot hole. Although, of course, you see that coming up short does probably give you more open space for your putt as opposed to finding those bushes just deep. Gossage taking his time. This is from circle 2. And he converts. So a great bounce back there for Gossage. He struggled on both holes, 6 and 7. Here bounces back with the birdie on 8. I feel like those were twice. That one was twice the distance as his previous putt that he had over there on hole 7. So a little bit of focus and a great bounce back. Marwede for par. And Owen will tap in as well for his par. We've got just one hole left to play in our front 9 of round number 2. Any and all support is appreciated. Any of the sponsors that you're seeing, any of the transition screens. Also, if you need some plastic, maybe some boxes to ship your disc. You see the advertisement for my disc in a box. That's all available on my website, shop.thediscgolfguy.com. That is out of bounds for Barela. Hole 9, 625 feet. Late skip up for Gossage there. And also out of bounds for Owen. And the rules for both 8 and 9 as they run basically linear, just directly in line with one another. Says that the canal to the right and the curb to the left and beyond are out of bounds. Throw from where the disc was last inbounds. This one comes in almost 100 feet shorter than the previous hole. The question, does it play any easier? And we take a look at the stats. This plays right in the middle of the field. Averaged 4.07. And so still averaged over par for our MPO competitors, which is, again, somewhat surprising to me. Not much wind to speak of. Maricopa, clearly a pretty open course. And we've had some ripping winds where making 12-footers, it had the same jubilation as a 35 or 40-footer in slight wind conditions. So this is actually pretty calm for us. And you also see not a ton of park activity. Sometimes we've been out here and there's been soccer tournaments and other things going on. Seems like things for a Saturday afternoon are relatively calm throughout. So that's not much of a factor here as that slides out the left side. And just when we saw Gossage make the previous lengthy putt, that one slips out. Looked like it was left of pole. How far left? Tough to tell, but he didn't seem too upset as if it was the basket's fault. And I need you to like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I haven't asked you any silly questions, so go ahead and tell me something fun about your last weekend. Actually, tell me what you did Super Bowl weekend. That's what I need to know. Tell me what you did Super Bowl weekend. Put it in the comments. I've got jerky to give away, and we're seeing through 9 that Albert Tom is getting it done. He's 6 under. Right now, he's pulled up into a tie for 3rd. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Join us for the back 9 of round number 2 at the Maricopa Open.